to episode 39 of the Graceful Tangle podcast. I'm Amy Kate, a young but passionate knitter and crocheter. You can find all of the links to where you can find me on social media in the description box below, so be sure to check those out. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you took a moment to subscribe to my channel by clicking that subscribe button and then the notification bell right beside it so that you can know each and every time I upload a video. I will also have show notes available for this episode over on my blog, so if you have any other questions or want some written out details for my projects that I'm about to talk about, you can check those out. They'll be linked down below. But of course, if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me in the comments below or send me an email, or any other form of communication works just fine. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I want to answer as many questions as I can, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. I am so excited to talk about all of my crochet and knitting projects with you guys. I have so much to talk about today. So many things. I have done a good bit of making. Yeah, we just have a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and hop right into it with a couple of finished objects. Alrighty, so I have a couple of finished objects to talk with you guys about today. I actually have my show notes pulled up on my computer right beside me, so if I look over, that's what I'm looking at. This is kind of one of those episodes and one of those days where I just need the notes and I need to look at them to make sure I don't forget anything. I actually totally forgot to talk about something last week, and I didn't realize it until I was editing, and it was just like way too late. Like there was no time to re-record or anything like that, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But I am going to talk about that thing later today, so stay tuned for that. But the first finished object that I want to talk about is the fingering weight version of the Bestiary Beanie. So the Bestiary Beanie is one of my patterns. It is free in my Ravelry shop. I'll link it down below. It is written for worsted weight yarn, and so for a long time I've been wanting to recreate that pattern or really design a new pattern in that same kind of family that uses fingering weight yarn instead of worsted weight. So that is what this beanie is. I have not woven in my ends yet, so I need to do that. But the knitting part is complete. I love this yarn so much. It's picking up a little bit more color variation on camera than there actually is. There's definitely some tonality. This is Knit Picks Hawthorne Tonal in the color Grants Pass Tonal. But it's not that vivid. It's not as vivid as it's picking up on screen for sure. But anyway, really, really love how this turned out. This is actually a belated, like kind of significantly belated, belated birthday present for my papa, who is my mom's dad. And I am really excited to give this to him. I was really hoping to have it done, for his birthday, but it just did not happen with school and everything else I was working on. But I'm super happy that it's done now, and I'm looking forward to giving it to him soonish, as soon as I can see him. And yeah, so I use size 2.5 millimeter needles for this beanie. I think I might have misspoke last week. It took me a while to settle on a needle size that I wanted to use for this project, and I think because of that, it kind of made me confused while I was knitting it. But I did use 2.5 millimeter needles for this beanie, and I really, really like the gauge. I think it also took me a little bit of time to get used to this yarn. This was my first time using it, and it's just, it feels a lot different than, say, Knit Picks Stroll or another yarn like that. It is a 2-ply, and it's a little bit of a plumper yarn. So I had to kind of accommodate for that, and gauge swatch and all of that jazz. I'm really looking forward to knitting a pair of socks with this yarn and kind of calculating a gauge and see if my stitch count for socks needs to change if I use this yarn, because I'm really eager to test that out and see if that's the case. But I have a skein of this that I'm going to knit a pair of socks with soon, so maybe we can test out that theory then. But really, really love this beanie, and I am super happy that it is complete. Then the next finished object that I have is my Amore shawl. So this is one of my own patterns. I updated it last week and re-released it, and y'all have loved it, which just makes me so happy and grateful. But this is what it looks like if you haven't caught my Instagram post or anything like that. I love this shawl so much. I loved it ever since I designed it, and so this year I wanted to kind of make a new one and recreate it just a little bit, update the pattern, make the format kind of fit my most recent patterns, all of that jazz. I'm really happy that I took the time to do that because I just love this shawl so much. It has so much texture. There's a bit of like lacy mesh and then some baubles, double crochet. I love it so much. And it is a triangle shape, which is my personal favorite, at least so far. Just really love this shape of shawl. It looks great as a triangle scarf or on your shoulders, kind of like grandma style. And then I also added tassels to mine, but of course those are completely optional, and there are instructions in the pattern for how to do these tassels. I also have a tutorial over on my Instagram page, on my Instagram TV, so if you want to check that out, you totally can. The yarn that I used for this is Knit Picks Preciosa, if I'm saying that right. I really need to look up how to say that word, because it's one of my favorite yarns, and I'm just not entirely sure how to say it. But this is the colorway Dusty Rose, which I thought just made the most beautiful colorway for a kind of Valentine's Day-ish shawl. When I released this pattern, it was definitely with, Valentine's Day in mind. Like, that's why it's called Amore, and I used a pink yarn, but at the same time, this can totally be perfect for any time of the year, and I think it would look gorgeous in a color that isn't pink as well. So don't hesitate to download it, even if the name Amore scares you or anything like that, because I love it so much. So that is my second finished object, and I think that is all my finished objects. Again, I'm going to look at my show notes because seriously, it's just one of those days. I did use a size I 5.5mm hook for this, if you're curious. Really like the gauge that I was able to achieve for that, or with that hook. I like it so much. It's so beautiful. It's so squishy, so warm, and single ply, of course, is one of my all-time favorite yarns to knit or crochet with. It just glides so beautifully over the needles and hooks. So, yeah. Alrighty, that is it for finished objects. Let's go ahead and talk about some works in progress. Alrighty guys, I have so many works in progress to talk about today, so let's just go ahead and get right into it. First, I am working on my, Like a Cloud cardigan. I could not remember the name of it for a second. So this is my February sweater. I kind of have the loose goal to knit a sweater a month this year. It just so happened that I finished a sweater in January, and so I kind of wanted to continue that for every month throughout 2021. We'll see if that happens. I am doing that with socks, so I'm knitting a pair of socks a month. I doubt I'm going to be able to get this cardigan done this month because it's a lot of knitting and it's a lighter weight than I guess normally use for sweaters. It's definitely a weight that I want to use more often for sweaters, but it's technically my first sweater, I guess, in this weight. Anyway, so we'll see if it actually gets done this month. If not, that would be totally okay. I'm more than fine with it carrying over into March, but we're just going to see. I'm going to keep working on it. However, I have not made that much progress this week, and February is a short month to begin with, so I don't really see that happening. Anyway, so this is the Like a Cloud cardigan by Hohi Locatelli. Let me show you a picture. So here's what the pattern page looks like, the photo. I'm sure you're familiar with it. This is a super popular cardigan for good reason, because it's absolutely gorgeous. And I just have to commend Hohi because this is a crazy short pattern, giving how big of a pattern it is. Like, it's 4 pages, and the first 2 pages is literally just the picture and the sizing, yardage, and gauge information. So there's really just 2 pages that are actual, like, instructions. and it's absolutely incredible. It's so easy to read. Part of that is because the font is smaller, like obviously that takes up less space. But still, it's incredible how concise she can be and still, make sense. Anyway, so I am using Sorella yarn for this cardigan, which is some yarn that I received as kind of payment for sample knitting for them. And I'm using 2 different colors. So let me get out my yarn here so that I can show you the colors. This is their mohair base in the color Knitflix. And then this green is called On the Trail, I think, in their sock weight base. Both of these are from the Cozy collection, which is a collection they did last fall. And I just love, love, love this combo. These are 2 of my absolute favorite colors, and so I just knew I had to combine them. Of course, I was a little bit nervous about combining them because we kind of originally designed this to be use a gray mohair and a gray yarn, or a gray yarn and a white mohair. Some that kind of go a little bit better together, but I just love the way that this is turning out. So on camera it's picking up a little bit more pink than it actually is. It's definitely more green. But the way the colors blend is just absolutely beautiful. I love it so much. This is the start of the back panel. I'm actually really surprised with the construction. I thought I knew exactly how it was constructed, and I was totally mistaken. And it's not a bad thing. I'm really excited to see how it ends up. But it's definitely not what I was originally expecting, which is super interesting. But anyway, so I'm working on this back panel right now. I was kind of hoping to get it done this week, but it just didn't end up happening. I had a little too much going on. But yeah, absolutely love it so far. I am using size 6 needles. Hobie called for size 4. But I thought I was going to need to use size 6, and when I swatched last weekend, I was correct. I achieved perfect gauge with a size 6, which just made me so satisfied, honestly, because I thought I needed to use a size 6, and I was right, and I did. I just love it when that happens, but anyway, really, really loving this project so far. I'm hoping to have some more time to work on it, this week, but we'll just have to see. What I'm really hoping to do is take some time every day and work on it, for sure. But again, my days are just so jam-packed with school and business stuff, so it's kind of hard to find time to work on it. But yeah, I just can't wait to wear it, and that's the main thing. I want to wear it before it gets warm outside, and it is like the perfect temperature to wear a cardigan right now. But I don't know how long it's going to last. It's like, you never know with Alabama. I mean, winter could be over tomorrow. It's not going to be, thankfully, but it could be. That's just how the weather is here. But I'm really hoping that it stays cold for a while. I'm going to go ahead and put my pattern back in here. This little corner of my room where I film gets to be a complete disaster when I'm podcasting, and I really want to try to prevent that this time. So I'm going to put projects back in their bags after I show them instead of just throwing them on the floor. Anyway, my next work in progress is my February socks. So in January, I knit a pair of socks that were specifically for January, and I'm going to do that for every month this year. So excited about it. I'm already enjoying it so much, even though we're only in the second month. So for January, I did the Rye socks by Tin Can Knits, and for February, I am doing these socks by Julie of Twin Stitches Designs. Let me see if I can find my pattern. Oh, it's on my desk. Oh, can I reach it? Can I reach it? Oh my goodness. Yes, okay. So I'm knitting these socks by Julie of Twin Stitches Designs. So this word here, I am not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but I did look up a definition because I was super curious as to what it meant. And I actually copied and pasted that definition from Google onto the show notes for this podcast, which you can find down below. So be sure to check that out if you want to hear more about it. But basically, it was, so J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter book series, made up this word. And it basically means, if I remember correctly, it's like banishing weapons. She combined 2 Latin words and made this word. So it's kind of a cool story behind it, and you can, again, read that full definition on the show notes. But yeah, kind of an interesting story behind that. And so now that I know the definition, I think the sock pattern, like in my mind, this cable now represents like the wand and Harry or whoever actually does the banishing act, banishing the weapons. Can you tell that I'm not very familiar with Harry Potter? I started like the first book over the summer because Nitty Natty over on her lifestyle channel, All of This and That, was doing a like challenge when you read the Harry Potter books. And I like totally failed. We don't own them, and so it was really hard to read them and like find them at a library, and they weren't available. So anyway, kind of fell off that bandwagon. But eventually I do want to read the books. So anyway, this cable kind of represents the wand to me, and I don't know if that's the original intent or not. But either way, that's kind of what it represents, I think. Anyways, so this is my first sock. I love it so stinking much. Oh my goodness gracious. So I am using Knit Picks Stroll Tonal for this. It is actually my first time using this yarn, if I remember correctly. I've used Stroll multiple times, but this is my first time using the tonal line. I think that's right. Anyway, I love it so much. I love the pink. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but again, I'll link it down below and put it in the show notes, and you also can't miss it. I mean, it's a beautiful pink. Anyway, so I have finished the leg on the first sock. It's a little bit longer than some of the legs on my other socks, but I'm really, really loving it. I just decided to do a couple more repeats than I was originally planning on doing because I didn't want to stop knitting, obviously, honestly. But anyway, really, really loving it so far. And then I am going to do a contrast heel, which is the next step for these socks. And I'm going to use, again, Knit Pick Stroll in the colorway Ash. So it's just a beautiful slate, plain gray. And I think it is going to look so cool with this yarn as a contrast heel. I'm going to do the heel that she recommends in the pattern, which is a heel flap and gusset. I have found that while I want to continue experimenting with different heels, I'm really, really loving heel flap and gusset. It was honestly what I was most scared about with knitting socks was the heel. But it's not scary at all, and I am fully enjoying knitting heel flaps and gusset. It's become therapeutic. So yeah, really, really loving that. I'm also using size 1 2.25 millimeter needles for these socks, and I am quickly realizing that I am in desperate need of some more sets of this size needle, 2.25 millimeter. So if you have any like suggestions on 24-inch or 32-inch circular 2.25 millimeter needles, let me know in the comments below because I am seriously in desperate need of them. I want to get some Xiaogu ones, but the price is just a little bit on the expensive side, in my opinion. It's worth it, like you totally get what you pay for. But I don't know, $10 for one set just seems a little bit on the high side. I am thinking about trying Knitter's Pride Sings, but at the same, because I really like those needles in like the larger sizes, but at the same time, I am not 100% sure that I'm gonna like the join, and I don't want to risk paying for another set of needles that I'm not gonna like. And it's just one pair, like it's not like it's a full set. But anyway, I'm scared to risk, buying a set and then not enjoying it versus buying a Xiaogu set, knowing I like it and just paying the $10. I don't know. The struggle is real. But let me know if you have any suggestions because I want to try out some more needles. I just also really want to like them because I'm in desperate need of them. I'm just working on so many projects that uses the same size needles, and it's ridiculous, and I need to solve the problem ASAP. Anyway, so that is my February socks. Next up, I am working on another pair of socks, actually, and this is using some yarn that I meant to talk about last week and completely forgot about. But that means I can talk about it this week, so that's totally okay. So this yarn, let me get my sock blocker here so I can put the sock on it. So this is Earth Yarns Unique in the Pantone 21 color, which is this yellow and gray. So there's multiple colors. And these are a pair of socks that I'm doing a for a commission, which is my first pair of socks that I'm doing for somebody else that, you know, is paying me, which kind of results in new challenges. Like, obviously, it's kind of hard to figure out how much to charge somebody for that, but anyway, we'll figure it out. These are the heel toe do-si-do socks from Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady. Absolutely love this pattern. It is so addictive. Yeah, I just love it. I love it so much. I actually knit one sock out of this same yarn for a shop sample for my local yarn store. So that was super fun. And then somebody there asked me if I could knit them a pair of socks, and I said sure. So that's what I am doing. I am a little bit nervous about the size of the foot, but given the measurements that this woman gave me, they should fit absolutely perfectly. So I'm really, really hoping that they do. Really hoping. But again, we'll see. So yeah, and then I did an afterthought heel. I did add a few rows of plain knitting before I started the decreases of this heel because I wanted to give a little bit more room in the instep area. Something that I have come to realize with short row heels and afterthought heels is this part of the sock is tighter than this part of the sock because there is more to stretch over, and there's not a lot of fabric, extra fabric to compensate for that stretching. So that's definitely something that I've come to like more in heel flopping gusset heels, which is why that's more comfortable for me. But afterthought heels are so simple and so quick, and so I'm kind of trying to experiment with some other ways to solve that instep issue so that I can do more afterthought heels because I really enjoy doing them. But yeah, so here's the first sock. It is completely done. I actually shared this yarn on Instagram a few days ago and got a couple of requests to do a yarn review on this yarn. So that is something I am planning on doing. I'm just going to have to kind of play it by ear. Because these are a commission, I, you know, am a little bit more restricted in terms of time. So I have to make the time to film that video. And when I do yarn reviews, I really like to have a sample of something that I've made in that yarn to talk about. As well as the yarn itself. So we'll see. I think I have like a little schedule in my mind. Well, I know I do. I think it'll work, basically. But I have a little schedule in my mind that I'm hoping plays out, and that will allow me the time that I need to film that video and get these to that person this week. So we'll see if that happens. But either way, really enjoying these socks. I'm enjoying using this yarn. It's great. I highly recommend it. And yeah, so that is that project. Now I just have to knit the second sock. And again, these are using my 2.25 millimeter needles, so that's why I haven't quite started it yet, because I had to use those for something else this morning. So yeah, I really need to just bite the bullet and get new needles. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so my next work in progress, I'm telling you guys, I have been working on quite a few things. So this next one is actually another sample for my yarn store, and it is in the bag that I got from the store, so excuse the crinkling. But this is a sample of my newest pattern, which is the Stitch Heart leg warmers. I'm going to talk about them a little bit later too. But today's the last day that you can use the code to get yourself this pattern for a discount. So be sure to take advantage of that if you haven't already. But here are the leg warmers so far. I've done one complete chart, and now, well no, I've done half of the chart, and now I am working along the rest of it. Really loving these. I have the ribbing done. I'm hoping to get these done soon. And the yarn that I'm using is something that I have never tried before, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a very unique blend, but it's very interesting to work with. So this is KFI Collection Teeny Weeny Wool, which is just so fun to say. You can't say that with a straight face. But I'm using it in these three colors, which are Ecru is the white, Orchid is this bright pink, and then Burgundy, I think, yeah, is this red color. And they're just so beautiful all together. The owner of the shop wanted me to get these done this week so that they can have them as a sample. So that is what I'm trying to do. I only have to do one, so it's not, you know, it's not as big of a deal as, or as much knitting, I guess, as two. which is great. And I have multiples of all of these colors. I'm very intrigued to see how much yarn this actually ends up using, because I'm not entirely sure. I just had a full skein when I designed the pattern, and I haven't quite weighed the actual leg warmers. So I need to figure that out, and then once I do, I can obviously provide that information on exactly how much yardage. But anyway, because I don't know, it doesn't really matter. It's just something that I kind of like knowing in the back of my mind, I guess. But anyway, really, really loving this project. Again, this yarn, I didn't actually tell you what the content was, did I? It is a 75% wool, 25% polyamide. So yeah, it almost feels a little bit cottony. Like I can still feel the wool. I don't know, it's obviously not, but that's just kind of what it reminds me of, I guess. Yeah, really enjoying these, and it's just the cutest little balls ever. They're adorable. And again, 2.25 millimeter needles. It's definitely become my most used needle size lately. These, though, are 9-inch circulars, so they're not used, well, I mean, yeah, they are used as often, but it's okay if I only have one of these, I guess. I actually had another pair, but something was wrong with the cable, and this is my Xiaogu interchangeable set. Something was wrong with the cable, and because Xiaogu needles are made in a way where the screw is attached to the needle tip, instead of whereas Knit Picks and Needles Pride are the opposite, the screw is on the cable. I was trying to screw the needle onto the cable, and there was something wrong with it. Like it was lining up, like I was screwing it correctly, but there was something wrong with the actual cable. And as I was twisting it, the needle broke, and the screw came off, or like the little point that screws into the cable came off. And so I can't use them anymore, which is so frustrating because I can't use the cable that I was trying to use either, which is super frustrating. So I'm going to have to get a replacement at some point of that tip and that cable, because it was so handy, and now I don't have it, which is super annoying, but it's okay. Alrighty, so let's see. I talked about all of those projects, right? Yes. Okay, so now I have one other project to talk about, and that is actually my Boxy sweater, which is a sweater that I had already finished, but I am now making a modification to. So let me grab that. It's actually on my bed, so I had to jump off screen. But anyway, so I actually have a Throwback Thursday episode all about this project, which is something that I finished a while ago, even before I started podcasting. And I finished it, love it, but decided that in order to wear it with leggings, which is what I really want to do, I needed to make it a little bit longer. Just for me to feel a little bit more comfortable about it, I wanted it to be a little bit longer, and I had some extra yarn, and so I decided to take out the bottom ribbing section and add length, which is what I'm doing. And I'm so excited that I finally bit the bullet and did it, because it's something that I've been intending to do for a while. I actually have another sweater that I want to do this to as well, so this is kind of good practice, I guess. So a couple of notes about the Boxy sweater. This is the Worsted Boxy, which is a pattern by Joey Locatelli, and it is originally designed to be worked from the bottom up. And so you start at the bottom, do the ribbing, work all the way up, and then do the shoulder section. Now, when I knit this about a year ago, actually, I cast on here. So, and I did a provisional cast on. So I cast it on like I was going to follow the pattern, but instead of the long tail cast on, I used a provisional cast on. I did about 5 rows, and then I did the entire shoulder section. What that allowed me to do was knit that whole section and get it done, but then flip the project around, pick up the provisional cast on, and do the entire bottom of the sweater while being able to pretend that it was a top-down sweater and customize the length. Now, obviously, it's a little bit ironic that I did that so that I could customize the length, and then I still made it too short. But that's beside the point. Because I made that modification, I wasn't near as worried about ripping out the ribbing and adding some more length. Now, you can still add more length to a sweater by cutting off the ribbing if it was knit from the bottom up, but it would be really hard to salvage that yarn, and with this method it wasn't as difficult. So what I actually did was, so I had some more of this yarn, which actually was exactly 100 grams, which was super satisfying to see that number on the scale. But anyway, so I weighed, no, what am I trying to say? I ripped out the ribbing, and then I actually cut the yarn so that I have all of the yarn that I need for the ribbing set aside. And I don't know if I'm going to use all of this yarn to add length. I'm not sure. I'll try it on before I do the ribbing and make sure that it's long enough. But that way, if I want to use all of this, I can, because I have all of that yarn. It's downstairs, so that's why I'm, imagine me holding a ball of yarn. Anyway, that's why I have all of that yarn set aside, is so I know exactly how much yarn I'm going to use for the ribbing. And I'm really glad I did that, because it used a lot more for the ribbing than I originally thought, and I wouldn't have saved enough. Like, there's no way. So I'm really glad I decided to do that. So yeah, it's kind of silly, like, I realized that, to go back and, change this much of a sweater. But at the same time, it's going to make it so much more wearable for me, and I'm really glad that I'm deciding to make this change, because it's, again, the perfect time of year to wear this sweater, and I just want to be able to cozy up in it with leggings and wear it and live the cozy life, and, not worry about it being too short or anything. It was the perfect length for, like, jeans or pants that had, like, a button or something, instead of just leggings, how they just go straight down. I just didn't want to show too much, and this was just a little bit too short for that, and I wanted to wear it with leggings, again, instead of pants, like, real pants, because, real pants are my thing. I really like leggings. Anyway, so, really happy I'm making this change, and hopefully I might be wearing it soon. I'm hoping to finish it this week, and again, there is one more sweater that I want to, make this same modification to, because again, that one is just a little bit too short, for my liking. The other one I'm actually not planning on wearing with leggings, but I will chat about that next week, is my goal. I'm hoping to finish this one this week, and then work on that one the next week, and then they will both be ready to wear. But yeah, so I'm making that change. If you're interested, this is I Love This Yarn. Not entirely sure of the colorway. It might be in that Throwback Thursday episode that you can check out. It might be like aquamarine or something like that. But yeah, I will find that out and put it in the show notes or something. But anyway, really, really loving this. It's the perfect mindless project. I actually have been, as I've been knitting on this, I've been thinking of how much I would like to knit another Boxy, just because it's so mindless and so enjoyable. But yeah. So, I think that is finally all of my works in progress, if I'm not missing anything. I told you there was so much to talk about this week. I think this is the longest web section yet. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop into some designs. Alrighty, so before I hop into a design that I am working on, let me just remind you that my newest pattern, the Stitch Heart Leg Warmers, is available on Ravelry and Etsy, so be sure to check that out. You can use the code HEART at checkout for the rest of the day today to get it for sale on Ravelry, so be sure to take advantage of that. If you haven't already, that code will end, and then it will just be to its normal price. So be sure to take advantage of that code if you haven't. Thank you so much to everyone who has already downloaded or purchased the pattern. Your support means so, so much, and I really, really appreciate it. Alrighty, so a design that I am currently working on and absolutely loving is a new beanie. So this is Knitpicks Muse, which is one of my favorite yarns. You all know that now. I believe this color is Affection Tonal or something like that, or maybe... Wow, okay, now I don't know. It's either Affection Tonal or Spontaneous Speckle, which is like two completely different colors. I'll put the link to this yarn in the description box below, and you can see the actual colorway in my show notes. I'll be sure to update it there because I'm not entirely sure what it's called. But anyway, it is just loaded with color. It is so gorgeous. I am absolutely in love with this stitch pattern. It's one that I kind of made up myself. I'm sure, you know, it's not original, but I myself haven't seen it anywhere, which kind of makes me super happy and a little bit proud of myself. But anyway, I am just loving this so far. I'm using a size 10.5 needles. This is actually my first time using these. These are the Sunstruck fixed circulars from Knit Picks, and I absolutely love them. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to get a couple more sets because I'm just absolutely loving using these needles. But yeah, so that is a design that I'm currently working on. I have a couple more on the side as well that I'm going to keep secret for just a little bit longer. But I'm definitely hoping to release this beanie sooner rather than later. So stay tuned for that because I am loving it so much already. It's been a couple of days since I worked on it because I wanted to take some time to get like the math all right and get it started. And now I just need to do the finishing touches and finish the sample. But absolutely loving that. So that is all I have for design talk and all I have for knitting and crochet content. It's been a heavy episode this week, but I love it and I'm so happy about it. So now let's go ahead and talk about a devotion and then a bit of a life update. Alrighty, so for devotion today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a Bible verse that I came across and that really opened my eyes, and that is 2 Corinthians 9:6. And it says, "The person who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, but the person who sows generously will also reap generously." Now, throughout this passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, Paul is talking about giving and how as Christians we should be not hesitant to give, but give freely and give because Jesus gave his life for us. The ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate gift. He really truly gave it all. And we should be inspired by Jesus' life to give what we can, whether that be in the form of tithe or donations or volunteer work, whatever the case may be. We are called to contribute and to give to all and those we can. Now, this is super important, but it also kind of leads me into something else that I really want to talk about, and that is reaping what you sow, or sowing what you reap, or however you want to phrase the phrase. I'm sure you've heard it, you reap what you sow, and it's a phrase that can be tossed around kind of lightly. It can be meant as an insult or as an encouragement, and it's kind of hard to find the line in between those. You know, it's hard to know how to accept that phrase, how to live by that phrase, and how to really apply it in a biblical way and how it was originally intended. So, the way that I depict this phrase and the way that I believe how we all should is that sowing, you know, when you put work into something, that work is going to yield results. And even more than that, it's going to define the results. So if I work really, really hard at something, you know, day in and day out, put a bunch of time into it, I'm going to see significant results because I'm working so hard at it and putting so much effort into it on a daily basis. Whereas if I were to work on something like once a week, do a little bit here and there, you know, just when I feel like it, I'm still going to see results, right? But they aren't going to be as significant as results as the thing that I had worked on, you know, daily. Now, in that same vein, it also defines the results in a sense that, you know, no matter what we work on or what we do, we're going to see results. And it depends on what we're doing, whether those results are actually good or not. Just because you put so much work into something and so much effort into it, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to yield a good result, because it might not be a good thing that we're doing. So if I was to watch, you know, a specific TV show or spend my time doing something that isn't super worthwhile every day for, let's say, a week, by the end of that week, I'm going to see a result. I'm either going to see, you know, lost time because it's something that I was spending my time doing that wasn't very worthwhile, or that I wasn't, you know, being productive while I was doing it. I'm going to see results maybe even in my attitude. If it's a show that, or a book, or whatever the case may be, if it's something that isn't very, you know, healthy in a sense, then I'm going to see not good results, right? Because that wasn't something very good that I was doing and spending my time doing. So while I see significant results and that those results are important, they aren't good results. Whereas if we spend our time doing something good, so for example, I spend lots and lots of time on school and running this little business and making these YouTube videos and making Instagram content and Pinterest content and all of that jazz and all of those other things that I do. I work on those things daily. Every single day I put time into those things. So I see great results in those things. Now, that doesn't mean that every single result is good. You know, that doesn't mean that every single thing I do is a success, because believe me, it is so not. And that doesn't mean that it's easy. But I can now understand the value of putting so much work into something and seeing those things flourish, because that's what really happens when we spend our time doing something good. So I want to encourage you to just take that verse or take that phrase, you reap what you sow. Take it lightly in a sense, but at the same time really take it to heart. And what I mean by that is, you know, that phrase is something that I always want to have in the back of my mind, right? Like, I want to have, okay, if I put time into this, I'm going to see a result. Or if I put time into this, something else will happen. Whether I won't have time to do something else, or you know, my schedule's gonna change. It's important to always know that what you spend your time doing will affect other things in your life. And so it's important to note, so it's important to remember, I guess, that you have to value everything in your life and kind of find the balance between putting work into this task, putting work into this task, and then watching those two things come together and both flourish, because that is what's so beautiful. And taking it back into my life, that's something that I'm definitely learning with school. I mean, my school and my little business, though I hope that one day I can combine those two things and, you know, take these skills that I'm learning in accounting and apply them to my business, right now they're very much separate. You know, I'm very much, okay, I'm doing school now, and then I will do business later, or I'm doing business now, and I will be doing school tomorrow. You know, and it's hard to have that balance, especially when, you know, because of COVID, most things are at home, and I'm usually in this one place. It's hard to find that separation and that balance, but it's also really important, because both of those things are important, and both of those things matter, and they need to have beautiful, good results. I need to maintain a scholarship, and I need to continue growing my business. And so, while it's hard to maintain those different tasks and that balance, it's also really beautiful and really a valuable skill that I hope that I can apply to other things in my life later on. So I hope that was encouraging for you. As always, I always want these little devotions to be encouraging. Drop down in the comments if you have any other, you know, comments or things that you would like to add to this conversation, because I'm more than happy to just continue listening and to hear what you guys have to say. I love and truly, truly appreciate how supportive you are. It just means so much. So, a little bit of a life update. Just gonna smooth. Wow, I have used all of my words. Can you tell? It's been a long episode. Anyway, just gliding right into a little bit of a life update. I guess that sentence kind of tells you how it's going, huh? But anyway, it's been a better week than last week, which I am so grateful for. And again, last week wasn't horrible. It was just not the best. And this past week has definitely improved, and I'm so grateful for that. Heading into this week, I have school, of course, and business things, exciting YouTube videos, exciting content that I'm putting out, and I am so stoked about all of it. I've been venturing into a couple of other things, and I think it is so much fun, and just seeing doors opened, is just so, so beautiful, and a feeling that I am always so grateful for, and that's something that I hope to continue talking about soon, once I have a few more answers and a few more, defined steps that I'm going to be taking, I guess. I should also be hearing back about the pattern submissions that I submitted a couple weeks ago now. I should be hearing about those by Thursday is the plan. I believe last year when I submitted, I heard back the day after, and it was a no. So I'm hoping and praying that, one of them gets accepted. It could just be such a huge career opportunity and boost, and it would be absolutely amazing. So that is definitely still at the forefront of my mind, to be quite honest. I was going to say back, but that would have been a lie. It's not at the back. It's very much on the forefront. It's kind of something that I can't stop thinking about, but also it is not in my hands anymore, and it's important to realize that as well. So something that I've been telling myself is that God's plan will come to pass, and his plan is always, always, always better than mine, even if, I don't see how it's better at the beginning. So it always is, every single time. So I hope that you have enjoyed this week's episode. It's been a little bit rambly, a little bit long, but I am so happy to be back with you guys. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to hear me chat about all these projects, because I absolutely love doing it. Again, let me know in the comments below if you are working on anything special this week, what you have going on, anything and everything. I want to hear it. Let me know, what am I even trying to say? I know there's links down in the description box. Don't let me know that, because obviously I'm not even making sense anymore. Oh my goodness. Anyway, you can check out all of the links in the description box below. I will have links to the products that I talked about, the show notes, and social media platforms, so be sure to check those out. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you know each and every time I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching this episode and bearing with me through it all. And I will see you all again next time. Bye.